So, welcome. This is March 17th, St. Patty's Day, and Saturday is spring equinox. Um, and so we're talking tonight and practicing with the theme of balance and imbalance and equanimity, which has lots of different, it shows up in meditation teachings in lots of different places and different lists and different forms, and I'm just going to talk about one particular aspect of it tonight. And I didn't even really say a proper welcome, but my name's Jill Davey, and I'm a teacher with True North Insight. So we're going to have just a short talk here and then a practice. And I'm going to share this poem to start with. It's called The Facts of Life by, I'll probably butcher this name, so apologies, but Padraig O. Tuama. I'll put his name in the chat, and on the YouTube version I'll put it down below in the links, but it has wonderful accents on his name. So I'm going to copy paste it because otherwise I can't just type them in. There it is. So it's in the chat here if you're interested. And this poem is called The Facts of Life. And it speaks, I think, to this theme of equanimity. Padraig O Tuama, I think is how it's pronounced. I was watching some of his like a couple, there's a video of him reading a poem and then a TED talk, and they never said his name. I'm like, kept watching these things. Somebody please say his name so I can pronounce it properly. None of them said his name. So apologies to you, Patrick. The facts of life. That you were born and you will die. That you will sometimes love enough and sometimes not. That you will lie, if only to yourself. That you will get tired. That you will learn most from the situations you did not choose. That there will be some things that move you more than you can say. That you will live, that you must be loved, that you will avoid questions most urgently in need of your attention, that you began as a fusion of a sperm and an egg of two people who once were strangers and may still be, that life isn't fair, that life is sometimes good and sometimes better than good, that life is often not so good. That life is real, and if you can survive it well with love and art and meaning given where meaning's scarce. That you will learn to live with regret, that you will learn to live with respect. That the structures that constrict you may not be permanently constraining. That you will probably be okay. That you must accept change before you die, but you will die anyway. So, you might as well live, and you might as well love. You might as well love. You might as well love. The facts of life. To me, in that poem, it really holds these vicissitudes, they're called, of the 10,000 joys, 10,000 sorrows, and also this aspect of equanimity that's called upekkha, which is one of the Brahma Viharas or divine abode practices in meditation. And this aspect of equanimity speaks to this cultivation and the awareness and the sense of really being in the center of it all these waves, all this joy and sorrow, the death and birth, the love and um, the loneliness, and our practice of showing up as those on the Zoom call we're speaking to before the recording of uh, how we practice with this and develop it. So one of the it's kind of like a synonym of equanimity. It's not one of these is as I mentioned upekkha, which is how equanimity is usually referred to in the Pali language. But there's another one that's like a synonym, another way to describe equanimity or balance. And this is a compound word, as many words in Pali are, that's called Tatra Maha Tata. I'll put it in the chat and I'll put it down below in the, I'll break it into the 3 words even though it would just be together in one. It's like that, Tatra Maha Tata. I forgot the A at the end. It should be Tata, like that. And so I really like this meaning of equanimity, because it literally means to stand in the middle of all of this. So that first part of the compound word tatra means there or all these things. So there in the midst of all these things, all of everything that's referred to in that poem. And maha means middle, and the last part of the compound word tata means to stand or pose or to pose. So it's to stand in the middle of all these things. And another description of equanimity that's, I'm not sure the origin of this, but sometimes it's used as a way to describe it. I can't remember who said it, but it's equally near to all things. Equally near to all things, and that relates more to that other quality of equanimity as well, of like all beings, that we wish all beings safety and peace without discrimination of those who we like and don't like. So our heart, mind, awareness is equally near to all beings and to all things. There's some descriptions in the teachings that describe that well. Yeah. So I was reminded of a practice I did on the 3-month retreat with Jaya Rudgard. Rudgard, yeah. She's an amazing teacher. Rudgard. I'll link her down below on the YouTube video as well. I love her teachings. Ugh. Ugh. She's really so wise and kind and has amazing way of describing and accessing things. Wonderful. And one of the practices we did with her was based on equanimity, and I was remembering that today, and so this is inspired by some of the reflections that I recall from that practice with her. I'm just wondering seeing if there's any more I want to say before we just go ahead and do the practice. Nope. So there's, okay, in meditation, there's 4 postures for meditation. We tend to associate meditation with one posture, sitting, usually, we might imagine sitting cross-legged or on the floor or whatever. But there's 4 postures for meditation in the first foundation of mindfulness. And so those are standing, walking, sitting, and reclining, which is meant to imply all the time. So any posture you're in, believe me, I've spent some time trying to think about it. Well, what about this? Isn't that, trying to find exceptions to the rule, or that doesn't cover everything, does it? But don't strain yourself too much. It's just meant to, invite us to be practicing mindfulness, awareness all the time, continuity of awareness. And so one of these postures for meditation is standing. And unfortunately, at many meditation retreats, they don't practice this very much. Sometimes they do, and I think that's an oversight. It's a really helpful practice. It's really helpful if you're sleepy, although I do know some people that say they can sleep standing up, not for long. And it's really helpful for waking up sensations in the body. So if you tend to have a lot of energy in your head and a lot of ruminating and worrying, can't really feel sensations in the body, or there's kind of a sense of disconnect or numbness, practicing standing meditation can wake up a lot of sensation in the body. Another reason why it's helpful is that transition into mindfulness in daily life, so that when you're standing in line, if you practice this enough as part of your formal practice, then sometime you might remember, oh, instead of standing in line and kind of energetically pushing the person in front of me to hurry up, or being bored, or looking at the magazines in the rack, or judging mind of other people around, just to suddenly the body may remember, oh yeah, this is a practice, just standing meditation, just feeling the body standing. And some of my teachers I know have said that they've practiced this for hours at a time. I remember complaining of like, oh, I have a sore foot, do I have to do this? And they were like, yeah, give it a go. It was just like for a short time. This is like one period of meditation, and I was like, oh, it's so painful to just stand. It's like so uncomfortable, and it's like shifting and moving, and it's quite amazing how much aversion there was to just standing still, because when do we ever stand still? Like really, just stand still? Not too often. Yeah, unless you're a soldier or something. So it does wake up a lot of sensations in the body. Don't panic, we're not going to spend the whole period standing, just a few minutes at the beginning, so that we can experience what we're exploring tonight in an embodied way, and then we're going to bring it down into sitting. All that being said, if it's painful for you to stand, if you're not physically able to stand, no problem, just stay seated. You can still connect with the same instructions in the practice. All right, that was a long preamble to let's stand up. So if you choose to, you can stand up for this practice, and then we're going to come into sitting, so you can have your sitting stuff nearby as well. All right, so now I have no head. Let me just adjust this. All right, I'll move back a little bit. Good. Okay. So now we've come to standing, or you can stay sitting, or even laying down if that's what your body needs. Just attend to what you need. I'm going to turn that off behind me a little better, yeah. I'm standing with my feet a bit wider than hip width because that feels a little more stable for me. If you tend to feel like unstable or dizzy, you could stand behind your chair and put your hands on the back of your chair for some stability, or have something nearby if you feel any sense of dizziness. If you feel any dizziness, you can also just come back to sitting. Please don't stay standing um, if it's feeling really uncomfortable. All right. So once you're standing, you can see if it feels comfortable to have your feet a bit wider. For most of us, it's helpful to have the eyes open because you can feel pretty off center or dizzy with eyes closed sometimes. But some people, if you feel comfortable with eyes closed, that's fine too. See what it's like just to let your arms hang. Try to have a bit of softness in your knees so the knees aren't locked. And then we'll bring in our inspiration of this spring weather that's on its way. Another winter storm perhaps for some of us, but spring equinox is in a few days. And so, inspired by the elements here and nature and the trees, when we're standing here, we can bring in this beautiful image of tree. So as you feel into the sensations of your feet, you could invite experience, the sensation, the idea of growing roots, rooting down. The earth thawing and softening, moist with all of the thawing, and the roots growing down and into that softness and growing wide. We now know that how the trees all interconnect with each other through their root system and their, I forget the name of it, mycelia or something. We'll get it later. All this interconnected system of communication between trees under the ground. And the deeper and wider our roots go, the sturdier and stronger we may feel in our uprightness, the sensation of being centered, upright. And then if it feels available and safe for your body, you can see what it feels like to lean a little bit into the future, to just let your torso, if you're sitting, or your whole body, to lean a little bit towards the front of your body. See what it feels like to be in that. This is often a sensation of desire. When we're wanting something, we lean towards it. And then very slowly and mindfully starting to shift back through center. And then a little bit of leaning into the heels. This is often a sensation we have of aversion, of something we don't want, and we lean away from it. Or we're feeling ourselves pulled into the past. Notice which parts of the body are tense with that effort. And then relax that back through center. And we can feel also side to side how sometimes we lean in our body away or towards something or someone. You can explore both sides there. One might feel like it's more of a habitual or comfortable leaning for you than the other. And then, like a young and supple tree that moves in the wind, you can just kind of float around that sense of center, waving back and forth like a wind, or floating. And then when you're ready, coming for a few more moments here just into center. Remembering that soft belly, soft knees, arms and hands relaxed. And as you feel this sense of center, this Tatra Mahatata, standing in the center of everything, having a felt experience of that, to stand in the middle of this. And as someone described earlier, that we're standing in the center of just watching different thoughts come and go, sensations come and go, sounds coming and going. Standing in the center of all this. And now you can choose to stay standing for a while longer, or as long as is helpful for your practice. Or you can bring this sense of center and embodiedness, sensations in the body, back into your sitting posture, moving slowly, mindfully. So try to take that transition mindfully, be aware of how the body's moving as you come back to sitting, or stay standing and sit when you're ready. And then when you come into sitting, see if you can come back into settling again. Still feeling rooted and upright, but the rootedness will still feel connected through feet or the seat. The spine and crown of the head still ascending towards the light, the sun. Feeling how even if we're seated or standing, we might still be able to tap into this sense of interconnectedness. The way the trees are all communicating through their underground and above ground system, we too are completely interconnected. This is very helpful to feel and remember in these times of less or different connection, or sometimes feeling isolated. Equanimity is the attitude of even-mindedness, the steadiness of open-heartedness, regardless of whether pain or pleasure is present. It's not disconnected, it's standing in the center of it all. So see what it feels like as a sensation in the body to be awake, energized, aware, and also grounded and calm in the center. Remembering soft belly. And in these next few minutes, as we rest here in the center of the silence and presence, we want to invite the curiosity, the felt experience of leaning in the mind, in the body, in the heart, so that when thoughts arise or sounds or sensations, there may be pleasantness or unpleasantness, desire or aversion, clinging. See if you can feel that as a felt experience. Where the body contracts in some way, pushing away or leaning towards. it's not available to feel leaning in the body or contraction, it might not be that strong of a sensation. You might be able to notice it as a mind state where the mind is leaning towards some pleasant thought or towards something you want to fix or control, or away from some recollection of something or something we imagine is coming. So see if the mind states can be known as feeling slightly off center. And not needing to get rid of or fix anything, but just to know, the opening to knowing that brings us directly into center moment. Tatra Mahatata. Deep and wide roots, strong and upright center, wide expansive canopy, open and receptive, grounded and centered. Nothing that needs to be fixed or gotten rid of, controlled. It's all just arising and passing, equally near to all things. In these last 5 minutes of practice, maybe that restlessness or boredom or desire starts to arise, and we can be energized by that to say, oh, now there's something to work with. Let me see what happens. Does the mind or body lean into or away from this present moment? Feeling your direct experience of rootedness, uprightness, and openness. In a few moments, when you begin to hear the bowl being rung, see if you can continue with the awareness through the three sounds and watch how the mind or the body might want to push forward into the next moment. And see if you can just hang out there, hearing the three sounds until it ends. When the third bell ends, ending your practice in the way that suits you. One of my many favorites, but one of my favorite little Dharma quotes is from Norman Fisher, is a Zen teacher, and I love this, so good. The great and beautiful secret, it's already so good. Who starts a sentence like that? The great and beautiful secret of meditation practice is this. So good. You're waiting for it? You can experience dukkha with equanimity. Boom. Dukkha means stress, all the things we don't want, all the things we wish we could keep, aging, sickness, death. It means much more than all that, but so the great and beautiful secret of meditation is that you can experience life, dukkha, all of these ups and downs that's out of our control, with equanimity. That's wow. That's so good. Norman Fisher, thank you. Cool. All right, so for folks that have signed in on the YouTube later in time, thank you for being here and practicing or being there. Yeah. I'll put the links down below, and there's links to also offer support to myself or True North Insight if you're able. And I will stop the recording.